Hello, this is my response to the video, the needs and challenges of disasters. So, question number one, what are the needs and challenges during the heroic phase? And during the heroic phase, disaster survivors, they might deny the impact that the disaster is having on themselves, the impact that it had on their families, the impact that it had on their homes. And this is a phase where survivors may utilize extraordinary measures to protect their homes and families. Communities may start stockpiling different assets. Oftentimes, they may go out to help rescue others, and there's a sense of coming together. The community's helping each other out. Um, Everybody's really banding together to make everything work. So, with that, there is also a lot of energy that's being expended in this phase. And most people don't understand that they do need to practice self care. They do need to take days off. They need to worry about themselves as well and their own families and homes because in the video, she also talked about um, some of the people who were helping out that they didn't even take one day off, and and then when they got to the honeymoon phase, they were absolutely exhausted. Again, in the heroic phase, there this phase can be filled with a lot of denial, and oftentimes there is that sense of it's an immediate satisfaction that I'm boots on the ground, I'm doing something, we can overcome this, this is not too big for us. And while in fact it might be, they might need more help, it won't be done in a year. And that's where the sense of denial comes in. But oftentimes that denial is not necessarily negative. It can be used as a positive coping skill or mechanism, because there really is, after Katrina, there was so much work to be done. And if they didn't have that sense of denial, then maybe some of that work, it would have been just too much for them to handle and no one would have started anything. Um, so self-care was a message that they put out. This is, again, vital just due to survivors, having that burst of energy of like, hey, let's do this, we can do this, and kind of ignoring themselves. To me, they're still in that kind of fight or flight adrenaline rush that quite hasn't settled down yet. Um, so there was some positivity that came out of Katrina. She describes that there were a lot of walls in Katrina physically, and I guess invisible walls that also kept the communities apart. And now that those walls are not there, they are no longer isolated. More people are now able to work together. And they were talking about doing some pre-prevention planning and how important it is to collaborate between other agencies, their churches, surrounding areas, that there can be a lot of help when people band together. So, and the second question was, the honeymoon phase can include a crash point. Describe who, when, and why this might occur. So during the honeymoon phase, this is a phase where it's filled with a lot of gratitude. Um, Again, you have still that denial, um, the feeling that everything is going to be okay. There's so much to focus on, and this is where you hear on the news, from neighbors, Facebook, social media, that types of things, all these feel good stories that are coming out. And the world is a wonderful place when we all band together. And the illusion that normalcy is going to be possible. So the crash point happened when the heroic phase ended and the honeymoon phase started. Everybody realized they were absolutely exhausted. Not very many people had practiced self-care, and because of this, there was a lot of people who were suffering from physical ailments, a lot of elderly people, actually passed weeks after Katrina. Um, she said that there were several staff members that thought they were having heart attacks, and this stress was showing up physically, not only just mentally, but physically as well. So anybody could be affected, but really, people who were involved uh, a lot in the heroic phase, people who were not practicing self-care, and really it was just due to them being absolutely exhausted. So question number five, I'm sorry, number three. During the illusionment phase, fear, anger, and hopelessness can set in. What types of clinical conditions may develop from these circumstances, and what type of treatment is best to overcome them? Um, so, their counseling center or the church, they saw a greater number of people that came in that were needing counseling. Um, they were definitely finding early signs of PTSD, depression. And one of the questions was, in the video, was there ever a pinnacle to the crisis? And she responded with saying that no, there wasn't, not yet, because even 5 years after, in different areas of Louisiana, they were seeing a variety of different issues. Um, so every month after Katrina, these were getting more and more severe. So again, every year there were different places impacted. For example, in year two after Katrina, I can't exactly remember which parish it was, but there was an increase in suicides. Um, One of the parishes that relied heavily on fishing, they were impacted by the oil spill, and they saw a lot of domestic violence happening there. Um, so, everybody was impacted, but based on your geographic location, people were impacted differently. So the counseling center was not able to keep up with the people who were needing help. Um, so some things that they were doing, uh, CBT therapy is great. And one of the now that they're doing is taking preventative measures. The Red Cross actually had developed a program called Neighbor to Neighbor, similar to like a peer-to-peer program. Um, and they're hoping to prevent some of these ailments. They're hoping to prevent depression. They're hoping to prevent PTSD. One of the other programs, aside from the Neighbor to Neighbor, that was set up was suicide prevention programs, just due to the fact that there was an increase in suicides after Katrina. So after this phase, you got the reconstruction phase, um, and the disillusionment phase. Well, there's people who go back and forth between the disillusionment and reconstruction. Um, it's tough, it's hard, and you would think that from disillusionment, let's go to reconstruction, but that's not always how it works, especially when it comes to mental health. So experts said that it would take around 20 years to physically repair the city, and it would take a lifetime to emotionally repair the community. And that is extremely daunting. That's sad. And just because this one crisis happened doesn't mean that other crises and other natural disasters stop. So along with this disaster that they experienced in Katrina, they're also having to cope and handle other disasters that have come, other crisis situations that are in people's lives individually. Um, some of the different uh, disorders that are being seen at this center are addictions, domestic violence, alcohol, drug use, addictions with co-occurring disorders. But one of the wonderful things, if you want to call it that, I suppose positivity that came out of um, an event like Katrina was that people were very open to God and spirituality. And I know she referenced that they had lost a very big percentage of their congregation during Katrina. But after Katrina, the church is actually bigger than it ever was before. And, people need faith. People's faith grew. And spirituality in God, and that's one of the most important factors on somebody's life, and it can make the most impact. So, thank you so much. I hope that this video was informative.